America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll open with our activity reports. We do have an updated agenda before us, noting a 6:15 and 6:30 public hearings. Probably we're just going to bump the 6:15 back to 6:30 and do them all at once, unless somebody's here for the lot split. Opening with our activity reports, we had a policies and procedures meeting. Spent a lot of time talking about job descriptions for some of the front staff at City Hall and how we can update those, along with our employee appreciation picnic. We tried that at a new time this year, hoping that more people would come, hoping that we might even get some from the fire department, but unfortunately it just didn't work out. But I think it's still nice. I just want to note, we have a really dedicated set of employees who work for the city in all of our departments, be it the front staff, our police department, our fire department, public works. I think we have people who are really in these jobs not just to do a cushy government job, people who actually care about the welfare of the city and the good of it. So I'm really grateful for all the employees we have, those who celebrated anniversaries with us, those who remembered to turn their cell phones off before tonight's meeting.
Oh, shut up. It never rings.
But no, I'm really grateful for everyone that we have, and I just want to take this moment to appreciate them. That was our chance to do that last week, and I wanted to continue that and do it publicly as well. So that's all I have. Neil.
You missed one. Was on the same committees, policy and procedures. And I made it to employee appreciation on the Pets Park. And then we had property negotiations last week.
That wasn't me though.
Oh, I thought, okay, I'm sorry.
That was Paul.
Yes, Paul, you and me. And we have some interest in possibly a new development, and hopefully that keeps moving forward.
You, Megan?
I had an EDAP meeting, and then we had a special EDAP meeting called in order to get funding to a local business. We've been working with the chamber about some events relating to Small Business Saturday. And then I received notice that with the Blanding grant that we'd applied for some months ago, that we've been invited to go into the next round of funding. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be successful there with the grant for Amby Park.
Gene.
I went to every meeting there was, I swear. I was at EDAP, special EDAP, planning, joint planning, and the employee picnic,
All right.
all in a week.
All in a week. Paul.
Budget negotiations and the picnic.
All right. Thank you. Just a final note then, before we go on, the community gala is this upcoming Saturday. So it'd be nice to see everyone there. Again, the proceeds are going for the library expansion. So final plug before the gala on Saturday up at Shady's. Okay, department head reports. Ron.
Okay, thank you. First of all, we did conduct our water leak survey throughout the town. We did have 2 hydrants that were leaking. They were not severe, but they were still found and taken care of. Hydrant flushing will be October 12th and the 13th. Also, a number of residents contacted me. They received a letter from Water Resources, I believe it is. I got one myself, trying to sell insurance. That is by no means endorsed or supported by the city. So we just want to make it clear that it's a totally separate insurance company. Meters were read last week also, so you can expect those bills to be in the mail shortly. Parks will be closing on October the 9th, will be the last day they'll be open. Compost usage always picks up this time of year. Just like to remind everybody, the donation box out there. The compost, it is available for the taking. We do have some chips out there. There's not a lot, but they are also for the taking. Leaf pickup is October the 29th. Remember that they do have to be in compostable bags to bring them out there or to be put on the street. We will be doing some street sweeping in the next several weeks. Also, we did have NPR News come out and they wanted to do a story on the fishing pier. There's, I think he said 34 fishing piers in this area, or in the DNR area, and they chose ours to come out and do the interview. I'd like to thank Sean for coming out and everyone else who was there also. Thank you.
That's looking to air between January and May, you said, of next
Yes.
year.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Narrow it down a
keep
little.
your eyes glued to Granite Falls Public Television, folks, Prairie Sportsman. Watch everyone, because you never know when you might see Ron up there standing on the beach. The water resources thing, maybe that's something we should look at putting up on our Facebook page to just let people know it's not city-sponsored.
Thank you.
Correct. Tarek, unless anyone has any questions for Ron. Correct, Tarek.
All right, I was invited to go check out the childcare facility that's going to be opening up at the Shopko building and see the progress they've made. So they've been coming a long way, but there's still quite a bit more to do. But you know, good news is they're making progress and things are moving along nicely over there. Quite a few meetings, like Gene mentioned, policies and procedures, property negotiations, planning, joint planning, EDAP and joint EDAP. But I also attended the first lodging tax committee with the chamber and the representatives of the hotels and resorts. That meeting went quite well. It was the first initial meeting. They had invited somebody from the Minnesota Authority on Visitors and Convention Bureau, who was kind of giving us some guidance on what we can and can't use the funds for. So we are going to meet again soon in the next, I guess, 2 to 3 weeks. I think it's either October 12th or October 19th to try to come up with a strategy and budget for the coming year.
All right. Any questions for Tarek? Okay, thank you. And then we have our opportunity for our open forum. Brandon's here to talk to us about how much he loves us and everything we're doing. No? Okay. All right, then we'll move on to our consent agenda. It includes the minutes listed there on page 1. Quite a few of them. I'm going to trust that we all had the chance to read them. Thank you, Jennifer, for getting them all out to us. The vouchers on page 2 totaling $172,584.02. A couple of trainings. Anything else then that we have? Or is there a request to pull anything off of the consent agenda?
I think we should pull item D and discuss it.
Okay, we'll pull D and put that under new business. All right, so with that, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda items A, B, C, and E?
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Soini. Motion to approve by Hertzberg, second by Soini. Items A, B, C, and E. We'll discuss E under new business. We'll make that D as letter F under new business. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None? That carries. All right. Andy, you want some turnout gear?
Sure.
Okay.
We're here, I'm looking to purchase 6 sets of turnout gear. We do have a $5,000 matching grant from the DNR, so if they will pay $5,000 if we spend $5,000. We are looking at buying 3 sets for the last 3 that we hired. They've been on almost 2 years, and usually we will buy them a set, custom built set for them after the first year. So that's the first 3 sets, and the other 3 sets are basically replacement sets for those that are at the expiration date. So to update or bring those up to code, NFPA standards actually. The amount is $842. They would not give us the shipping cost at this time until they were ready to ship. So I don't have a rough estimate or anything of that.
All right. So we're looking then for a motion to approve the purchase of 6 sets of from Hyman, the amount of $19,842 plus shipping.
I'll make the motion to approve the purchase of 6 sets of turnout gear from Hyman in the amount of $19,842 plus shipping.
All right, I have a motion by Soin. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Thielen. As stated there on the action sheet. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? That carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's all you've got on here, right?
That should be it.
Okay, see you at 8 o'clock.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right, Ron, control panels for your lift stations.
Yes, we have 3 small lift stations down Hope Park, Central Avenue, and on Haynes, and these lift stations were installed roughly 1975. They've never been upgraded other than the pumps and motors have, but the controls have not. And we like to do them all at one time. We do have 2 prices there, $2,800 each from Nelson Electric, and they do the majority of our lift station work. So they did go through the public works, and they have recommended that we accept a quote from them.
I can't imagine why control stations from 75 would need updating.
Yeah. This time.
And the funds for this are coming out of the sewer replacement fund, it says.
Correct.
All right, so we're looking for a motion to approve the quote from Nelson Electric to upgrade the control panels, totaling $8,400, funds coming out of the sewer replacement fund.
Motion to approve.
A motion by Hertzberg, is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Brick. As stated there on the action sheet, to approve the quote in the amount of $8,400 from Nelson Electric to upgrade the control panels at 3 lift stations with funds coming out of the sewer replacement fund. Any further discussion? None, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? That carries. Great. Para for the officers, I don't know, Chief or Tarek?
This is the actual resolution that we have to approve every time that we have a police officer that falls under those requirements. So you'll see a resolution both for Dallin O'Brien and Eric Schultz. This is similar to all the other officers that we've hired in the last 6 months. We're required to file this with Para.
Thank you, Jen. I mean, Dallin O'Fallon, right? No,
Nobody heard that.
I'm making a joke at myself from the last time we did it. All right, so we're looking for a motion to approve these resolutions. Like Jen explained, this is something that we have to do. So we're looking at resolutions 2022-29 and 22-30.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Sonny, seconded by Hertzberg, as stated on the action sheet, approving resolutions 2022-29 and 2022-30, para membership for part-time police officers. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None? That carries. Great. Reminds me though, Belinda mentioned this a while ago, as to whether or not council members could be kicking into para. If we could maybe look at that at some point, just so that I don't lose what I've already accrued. But I don't want it to cost the city any money.
Okay.
All right, moving on then to page 16 of our agenda, the sidewalk repairs. Ron, can you talk to us about this a little bit?
Yes, thank you. We did the sidewalk inspection throughout the town, and we did come up with, or have identified 38 locations there where we do have some issues. Slips, trips, and falls is, I believe, the #1 concern or safety concern. And it is cited quite often, and it, excuse me. Funds for this we do have in the street sidewalk fund, and like I said, I think it's something that we have to do. Obviously, it's very easy for somebody to go out and slip or fall on the sidewalk, and if we don't take care of it, we're annoying, and could become a serious issue. So
And it's just gonna get worse, right?
it will just get worse. This company has worked for us in the past, and they do a very good job of leveling them off.
Ron, is this something, I don't want to delay it, because we need to get it done like yesterday, but were we able to get other quotes for how much this would cost, or is this just the company that does the work?
This is the only company that I know of that does the cutting. There is a company that raises them, but that would only cover about half of them. Half of them need to be cut. So this company can do it all.
So this is the, okay, just that way we know if anyone flags it, this is the only way to do it right.
If we are going to, if we want to replace it, we'd be talking about $60,000 instead of $6,000. So, yeah.
All right, so then with that, we're looking for a motion to approve the quote for the sidewalk repairs in the amount of $6,641 from Precision Concrete Cutting.
I'll make a motion to approve the repairs from Precision Concrete Cutting.
I'll second.
Motion by Hertzberg, seconded by Brick. As stated on the action sheet, to approve the quote for sidewalk repairs. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? That carries. All right, on to our update, the EDAP loan extension for Coronis Living LLC. Included minutes in here. Tarek, if you want to give us a little bit of a report?
Yeah, during our last EDAP meeting, which was last Tuesday, we were approached by Rachel at Firehouse Coffee. She said she had a couple of coolers go out. She was looking to have her EDAP loan paid off by the end of the year, but now she has to purchase 2 new coolers and was asking for an extension. So EDAP members obviously felt that, they'd like to support the business, and the current EDAP loan has always been paid on time, so they asked her to present an application, which falls under the small EDAP loan because she was asking for less than $10,000, and we set a meeting for last Friday. EDAP members reviewed the application and they approved it, they recommended it.
Okay. The only question I had is something we chatted about just a quick minute before we started, but it's whether or not we can keep the existing loan separate at its current interest rate rather than increasing it to the 6.5%.
Yeah, I think there was something related to initiating a new loan versus extending another loan. And once I have clarification on that, I'll see which is the easiest and obviously the most cost-effective way to do it.
Okay. I'm in favor of it, no matter how we go. I think if we can, she's been good about paying it, so if we can keep the interest rate low.
I brought that up at the special meeting, that if it were me, I would just keep the old one and pay that one off. Start the new one, because you have to redo it, we have to go with the new interest rate.
I guess with that, we're looking for a motion to approve or deny the extension of the EDAP loan in the amount of $8,000 to Coronis Living at an interest rate of 6.5% to be repaid over 5 years. Or in the alternative, approve or deny an extension to the loan in $8,000 plus incorporating the $1285.50, totaling $9285.50, and authorizing or directing the city attorney to draft the necessary documents. But I think just doing it either way, whichever is feasible and preferable to Coronis Living and to this copy, I think would be the way that we can authorize this. That makes sense for minutes and things? Okay.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Soini.
Second.
We have a motion by Soini, seconded by Hertzberg. Motion for the record is to, I assume you're approving.
Approved.
Yes, sorry.
It's to approve the additional $8,000 either as a separate loan or as an extension to the current loan, whenever is possible and preferable to Ms. Hoppy, at an interest rate of 6.5% paid over a 5-year period, and direction of the city attorney to draft the documents. That's the motion. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None? That carries. All right, pulled from the consent agenda, the LCCMR, back up on page 5. There was a proposed motion to approve the attendance of Tarek El-Rafai and Megan Brick to the LCCMR session, including mileage and per diem, back on August 31st.
You have a question over there?
Don't we have a hearing that?
We do. I'm doing them at 6:30 because Brandon's got to be here for both of them. And I figured we'll just do it at 6:30 rather than breaking twice.
Just check.
Yep. Thank you. You asked for this to be pulled. Is there something you had in mind?
Well, I was just questioning the fact that I don't question Tarek getting mileage. He was requested to be at the hearing and stuff, but Megan, as far as a per diem, it wasn't approved or mentioned or in our list of meetings that we usually attend.
Yeah, it didn't even occur to me that I would need to do that, because I just asked if I could get a per diem, because my husband ended up taking time off of work to take care of our kids while I was there. But if it's found to not be a good use of that, then I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I didn't think of it ahead of time either.
Yeah, it just occurred to me, I asked if I could and was told sure, so I did. If that's not acceptable, that's fine.
I don't mind paying it this one time, I just don't want, you
Yeah,
know, for us just to think we can go to a meeting and get a per diem without it being
let's do it
discussed.
every day. Yeah, absolutely. I wasn't aware of the, I guess I didn't even think about the process there, but if that's something that, like I said, isn't acceptable, that's fine. Otherwise, yeah, definitely, I think I'll be more aware of the process from here on out.
Yeah, I wasn't aware either till now.
Now we know.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's important that it come through here, not only so that we're approving the finance, but also so that we know who is speaking on behalf of the council on any particular issue.
Yeah.
You know, we can't, any one of us, speak on behalf of the whole city
Right.
or any one particular issue. We are a group.
Mhm.
You know, even I, as the mayor, might be more of a media spokesperson or figure out whatever it is. But when we get here, my vote's still 20% of the vote. It's not any more or less.
Yeah,
So I think it's important for us to know who are we sending as a spokesperson on these
Right.
issues that's been authorized to do that, and we know what's coming with it.
great.
Uh,
I just wanted to be sure to get the findings to report to the environmental committee at our next meeting. So.
That address your concern?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep,
all right.
yep,
And
I just didn't want it to become a habit, that
Right.
we need to follow the process.
Understandable.
Yeah.
so, were you then making a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion that
Okay.
she gets paid the per diem for that.
Do I abstain from that?
Fine.
Okay.
No, I don't think it's necessary. We vote on other trainings and things, but.
I-
All right, so there's a motion to approve the attendance of Tara and Megan to the LCCMR, which would include the mileage and per diem. Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Okay, so motion by Soini, seconded by Brick.
Oh,
No, my head's in the wrong spot.
Thielen.
Seconded by Thielen.
Abstained by Brick.
I think by Thielen. All right, any further discussion on that? All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None. That does carry. Megan, it sounded like you abstained.
Yes.
Okay. All right, going on then to page 18, the AMPI agreement. Ron and Workchuk, please.
Okay, thank you. Under this agreement, their AMPS current flow, April through, or September through March is 400,000, and through April through August, it is currently 450. Under this amendment, they would go up to 500,000 and 550 respectively. And to cover that, we would temporarily allocate them some of the city's unused capacity, give them that, and then they would be charged $1 per thousand if the flow exceeds those amounts during that time. And they would have 3 years to have a project pretty much in the process or initiated at the waste treatment plant. And then for the BODs, it's pretty much the same there, that we would expect them to have a plan, an executable plan completed within 15 months of this year agreement, which I guess I can tell you, they are in the process of doing an evaluation, and they truly do expect to be way ahead of this year's schedule. They know something needs to be done. They have had quite large surcharges lately, and they know it needs to happen, so.
they know that they need to meet or beat that deadline.
I guess the question that I have is, what if they don't?
What if they do not have an executable plan?
Yeah.
Or it's not complete by the 3 years.
And my understanding,
And it would be to increase the surcharges to a point where they were going to have.
okay.
Chuck, you have any other?
Yeah, if they got to the point where they were overloading it to the point of it was detrimental, if there's going to be violations, they would have to restrict their loading to a facility. I mean, for their asset.
Yeah, I mean, it worries me, Ron, you and I have talked about it, but just in some of my informal conversations, I understand they're getting some sludge buildup out in the ponds because of the amount that we're discharging over there and things like that. I just wonder, how long before the city goes bankrupt trying to clean up because we're processing more than we can handle?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Chuck, but I believe AMPI is responsible for any cleanup that would happen there. And I'm sure the city attorney would agree with that also.
Okay. As long as we've got the plan, I'm good with it. I just want to make sure we're looking a few years down the road in case things don't come the way we think they will.
And I think the plan would be is to stay in touch with the AMPI sort of on an ongoing basis as they go through this evaluation, so we know what they're looking at doing, hopefully sooner.
And I think that'd be a good idea to keep them on board with this too, let them know how much is being built up and when there's a possibility that this is gonna have to be fixed. Instead of just dumping it on them and saying, here's our surprise, you get to pay for cleaning this up. Okay.
Okay, then with that, we're looking at a motion to approve the AMPI Significant Industrial User Agreement.
So moved.
Motion by Hertzberg, is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Breck. As stated on the action sheet, to approve the AMPI SIU agreement. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed? None? That carries. Okay. Oh, it is now 6:26. We delayed the start of our 6:15 lot split public hearing. We might as well start that now. And Brandon, while you're talking to us about the lot split, we'll surely hit 6:30 to talk about the conditional or the variance public hearing as well. So we will adjourn our public meeting and go into our adjourn our business meeting and go into our public hearing on the lot split. Brandon.
Well, thank you. Before I get into that, I just want to, one of the things that Centricare has really focused on over the last several years is culture work with our employees. And the program that we've used is called Our Best Begins With Me. It's a Sen Delaney program. And one of the components of that is appreciation. And so I do want to extend my appreciation, said how much I love you guys or whatever, but I do want to extend my appreciation to all of you. I've had the chance over the last 5 years in my role as the administrator here in Gainesville to work with each of you, and especially Jennifer with all the work that we did with the closeout of the hospital district. And the work that's happened with the new building. Chuck's been involved with a lot of stuff with that as well. And just want to say thank you for that. I am retiring from Centricare on November 10th. That'll be my last day. So I just wanted to say thank you because I don't think I'll have, I hope I don't have another opportunity to come before you with an issue or a request. So thank you for all the support and everything that the city has done to support Centricare over the last more than the 5 years that I've been here, but certainly during the time that I've been involved with the operation here. The request that we have for you that could go to the Planning Commission a couple months ago is with regard to our Stearns Place Independent Living Building. And we worked through a lot of different options to try to figure out the best way to address the negative impact that the housing project has had on hospital, basically since it's been built, and to move forward in a way that assures that the building has the capital improvements that are necessary, as well as assure that it continues to be a viable senior living facility for Painesville for many years to come. We have 26 apartments over at Stearns Place. And with the changes in the state of Minnesota regulations regarding assisted living, which went into effect August 1st a year ago, we were required to discontinue providing supportive services for the tenant population there unless we were going to license the building as a full-fledged assisted living facility. As many of you know, that building, hard to believe, is already 34 years old. And so there's a lot of just internal needs that the building has, kitchens, bathrooms, flooring, just general upgrades that come with age. And so we feel that this is the best way that we can address the needs of the facility moving forward. So the request that we have is for a lot split, which basically carves out the property that the housing portion sits on. And Central Care would retain the remaining property around it, as well as we have an option for a buyback clause, should there be a different need for that property in the future. It's basically what we're asking is in order to facilitate the sale of the property. I don't know if it's 6:30 yet.
It's 6:30.
And so then, because of the way the building is constructed and being attached to the remainder of the hospital campus, we've also put in a variance request for the setback, and there's a limited linear footage that is not able to meet the required setback that the ordinance has. Part of it is a 0-foot setback because it's where the building is attached, and then the other two areas do not meet the 10-foot and 15, or is it 15 or 20-foot, 20-foot setback requirements for the rear and side respectively. So that's what the variance request is for. Any questions that you can?
Is it including garages too?
Centric Care is retaining the garages. So
Okay.
basically, if you saw the aerial drawing, it basically follows our drive lane on the south side, where the grass part is towards the building, and then in the back, basically the grass area between there and Corona Standard. And on the east, it's it becomes a little bit of a drive to keep the front parking lot, and then it goes straight back towards the remainder of the building. So a little over an acre is what the parcel amounts to.
Will the residents have use of the garages?
Yes, what we'll do is, we'll be renting those to Premier, and then they can do what they want, if they want to rent them to the tenants. We currently have 6 that are available for tenant use. We have one double garage that we've had to retain due to our construction, but that will be available for use once the project is completed. We're trying to avoid the, what do they call them? I must say right away, easements. That would be required, so try to limit that as much as necessary or possible.
Because the new clientele, most will be able to drive and have vehicles.
Yeah, we're not seeing that yet, but I'm sure it will,
Because their assistants almost probably are still driving.
Yeah, we have 6 garages that are full, and I think there's 3 or 4 other that drive over there yet.
Brandon, I get it. We've talked in the past about how the facility affects the hospital's ability to secure financing for improvements in other part of the hospital and things like that. But when we look at the lot split, we have to find that the proposed split will not result in the existence of a non-conforming lot. And I don't know how we get over that, other than to just say we don't care. And maybe the council doesn't care, but I guess I have a lot of questions down the road. We're all good with it right now, with the current setup, because I know you're working really well with Mr. Opatz and everything seems to be great, but what's going to happen 15 years from now if all of a sudden the relationship sours because people change and stuff happens? How does the city monitor what's going on so that that doesn't become a problem for future property owners over there?
And I'm not sure that that's the city's responsibility. But
No, that's fair enough. Yep. mean, will the buildings be served by completely separate HVAC units and utilities, or how is that going to work?
Well, we have a shared services agreement, and we'll do separate metering for water and for electric for the building. I should say sub-metering, but it's part of the service agreement between Centricare and Premier.
Well, Mr. Lopez has invested a lot in Tangelo. And I think if we work with him on this and have this go through, he's going to continue that.
I'm just trying to think, if this lot split and a variance, they're not 10 or 15 year positions. We're talking about how we're utilizing the land in our city. We need to be looking out 75 or 100 years. And if we're looking that far out, is that still going to be a hospital in that amount of time? Is that still going to be a senior living facility that far out?
How does the clawback clause work? In what event can you claw back or retain ownership again of the property?
Well, the way that it's been drafted is that we have to give a 2-year notice, and then at that point, then Centricare would purchase back whatever the unamortized value of the improvements that have been made in the facility are. Centricare is, obviously moving away from senior services in the Painesville community, and so this is the last piece that we have that's remaining to be finalized in that process. My personal opinion is that this is the best option to assure that that building will continue as a senior living or a residential facility within the community. Just because of the amount of capital improvements that are necessary, Premier is putting $500,000 worth of capital improvements into the building to bring it up to basically today's standard over the next couple of years. And so it's a significant investment on their part. They're not looking at coming in and basically running the building until it's not runnable anymore. They're investing into the property, and that's not something that is on the priority list for Centricare at this point because of all the other capital needs that our system has. We have about over $90 million worth of capital requests every year within the system. We go to the system to request improvements for a Stearns facility, for example. I stand in line with every operating room, every MRI, every other piece of new advanced medical equipment that is out there, and I don't have a very good chance at getting funded unless I want to go to the community and fundraise for it or whatever the case may be. And we don't feel that that's necessarily appropriate at this point. We have other needs as well.
No, I get it. From our conversations, I think something like this is probably the best and maybe only way to keep that senior housing available. I'm just conflicted that we have, for the lot split, we have our city ordinance, which I suppose we can find special circumstances to maybe avoid it. But the variance is more of a state statute type thing, and how do we get around what our leaders down in St. Paul tell us we need to find? Or once again, do we just ignore it? Which opens the city up to some potential lawsuit liability there. It's never happened. I don't think anybody's going to challenge this variance, but it's possible. All right. Any other comments for the public hearing? Okay. Thank you, Brandon. We'll close our public hearing. We'll go back into our business meeting, taking up old business B, lot split for Centricare, which is on page 2 of our update, page 20 of our original agenda. we have a worksheet that we need to go through. And the way that I would do this is I will just sort of read through, and if somebody wants to shout out whether we adopt or reject, and then once we get through, we'll go through and take a final vote on everything. So whereas, based upon the public hearing and the council's review of its application and relevant facts, the findings of the planning board as set forth in its report and recommendation were either A, adopted by the city council and incorporated, or rejected or modified as set forth below. So we have the, the agenda has the pages misnumbered.
Page 3 on the update. Yeah.
I don't have it.
It says page 3, but it's not in order.
Oh, no wonder I can't find it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that apparently is totally my fault.
I'm blaming the job here, because
It's
I'm
Monday.
making big mistakes.
Oh, I'm sure it was me.
Okay, now.
Okay, so we have the report and recommendation of the planning board indicates that the proposed lot split will not result in the existence of a non-buildable or non-conforming lot. There is a demonstrated need for splitting the lot. The property use is in compliance with the comprehensive plan, and the planning board recommends that the proposed lot split be granted. My sense is, I don't think that we in good faith can say that the lot split will result in the existence of a non-building or non-conforming lot. Personally, I think we should modify the planning board recommendation on that point and then debate whether or not we go forward and grant the lot split even with a finding that it would result in a non-conforming use. That's my sense. I don't know if there's disagreement among anyone here.
Well, I'm trying to understand why it's non-conforming when there's not, they're building, I mean, the building's on the whole lot that they're splitting. There's not another piece left that would be unbuildable or non-conforming, I can't.
So the lot becomes non-conforming because the buildings are still touching. The building itself is non-conforming, doesn't meet the setbacks. If they were to split it and demolish enough of the Centric Care facility so that we have that separation,
Yeah.
it would be no problem. But because they're splitting it and still retaining connection, buildings are still going to be connected. That's your non-conforming, it doesn't meet setbacks.
And is it that they're sharing utilities as well?
Well, that's a moot point. The buildings are still connected. Whether they share, electricity or water or whatever, they just don't need setbacks. Because we do lot splits all over the city. But the number one thing is, if you split that lot, are you creating a non-conforming structure or not?
But there'd probably be no other use ever for that anyway.
Probably, this is just what the ordinance says. And that's in the old ordinance and in the new ordinance. It hasn't changed. And Brandon, to be, completely honest, Brandon and I talked about this for
Yeah.
some length, and tried to work different avenues and how it would work. And, I told Brandon outright, I said, I don't know if I could, sit there on a board and actually approve it. And he knew that going into it. And he said, I'm willing to take the chance. I want to try for it. And he has that right as a property owner or the person that speaks on behalf of that property to come to you and ask for that. They have that right to have it amended or appealed or approved beyond what I can tell them.
With the understanding that's ultimately the council's decision.
Yes.
It is. But not doing it, we're gonna just have a building that's gonna deteriorate, and they don't want it, so then we're gonna have residents that have to move.
So here's where my head is at. If we make the following findings, So whereas, based upon the public hearing and the council's review and the application and relevant facts, the findings of the planning board as set forth in its report and recommendation were B, rejected or modified as set forth below. And then I'm just going to skip a little bit. Whereas the lot split as proposed will result in the existence of a non-buildable or non-conforming lot within the zoning classification in which it is located, and whereas there is a demonstrated need for the splitting of the lot, and whereas the proposed use is in compliance with the comprehensive plan adopted by the city. I think those questions we can answer honestly the way that, based on the evidence that we have. It's going to be a non-conforming use once it's done, but I think there's a need for it. We need senior housing. This is the only way to get it done, the only real feasible way to get it done. So I think we should also add a whereas clause that says the proposed use would result in the preservation of a service vital to the long-term economic viability of the area's housing and to the long-term care for residents within the community, thus making this an exceptional case.
I think we should strike within the community, just say for long-term residents.
For long-term residents, making this an exceptional case.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good. Because it needs to be done and somehow we've got to figure out how to do it.
I'm okay with finding a way around our ordinance for this, because I do think that it's vital and integral, but I want to give our ordinance sort of the respect that it deserves. We spent a lot of time drafting it. But this is a very unique circumstance that I think we need to move forward with. Did you get my language?
I have a little star next to it, verify with Sean.
Crap.
I have
Kristen,
most
can
of
you
it.
play back the record?
I have most of it.
What do you have? Can I?
Whereas the proposed use would result in the preservation of the vital housing and long-term
Care of local residents.
care of residents in the community, making this an exceptional case.
Yeah.
I missed something about in between.
Respect for the community.
Yeah, you absolutely got the substance of it at least.
Yeah.
That's how I think we should answer the whereases with the addition. Any other thoughts on that? Okay. Now therefore, the City Council of the City of Painesville, Minnesota, having reviewed the lot split application together with the findings and recommendations of the planning board, and having heard the opinions of members of the public as presented at the public hearing, and considering the standards set forth at Chapter 30 of the City Code of the City of Painesville and Section 30(190) thereof, finds that the lot split does not comply with the requirements of the statute or of the ordinance, because it doesn't. And then adding in language that says, however, given the exceptional circumstances of this case, a lot split is in the best interests of the long-term, it is in the long-term best interest of the city and residents of Painesville for the lot split to be granted.
Bill will have to draw it up.
In order to preserve vital access to housing
Senior housing,
for an aging population.
isn't it?
Got it? I tried to break it up. Therefore, the application for the lot split of property so as to create two parcels to be described as follows, to wit, as stated on the action sheet, you are not getting me to do that, is hereby granted.
Sounds good.
Well, is hereby granted with the following requirements subject to variance approval.
Yeah, because we haven't done that.
We haven't done the variance approval yet, but I'm assuming we're going to make similar findings. Okay. So with that, I think we have a consensus. I would ask for a motion to approve Resolution 2022-28 on lot split application for Centricare Health Painesville as amended with the findings of rejected or modified the planning board recommendations below, whereas the lot split as proposed will result in a non-conforming lot, whereas there is a demonstrated need, whereas the proposed use is in compliance with the comprehensive plan, and whereas there is a significant and exceptional need for this, the language that we talked about earlier. Now, therefore, the lot split does not comply with the requirements of the code. However, this is an exceptional basis justifying deviation from the ordinance. Therefore, the application for the property split legal description is hereby granted, subject to variance approval.
Perfect.
I would call for that motion.
I'll make that motion.
The motion is
As amended.
as amended, yep. Seconded by Rick. Any further discussion? I hope I'm not opening up a whole can of worms, but this is how. Right. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None? I carry. Okay. Now, on to page 6/2 of our agenda. Hey, it's the copy.
It's it's hard to do.
Full responsibility.
As long as we can find
Hey,
it.
you know what, if I take, let me do this.
Take this paper. Yeah, there we go.
Once you know, now it's in order. All right, looking at the variance, we had our public hearing on it, so it's just staying in our business session here. According to our ordinance, we have to find exceptional or ordinary circumstances. Variance is necessary to the preservation and enjoyment of a substantial property right. Variance will not create a substantial detriment to adjacent property. The condition or situation of the specific piece of property is not of so general or recurrent nature as to make reasonably practical the formation of a general regulation for such conditions or situations, and that we can impose conditions to ensure compliance and to protect adjacent properties. All right. Planning board, in looking at this one, I am looking at page 51 of our original agenda, found that strict enforcement of the zoning ordinance would impose an undue hardship. The owner's use of the property as proposed would be reasonable. Planning board believes the owner's need for variance is due to circumstances unique to the property and not caused by the landowner. The planning board finds that the variance, if granted, would not alter the essential character of the locality. The variance will be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance. Therefore, the planning board recommended the variance be granted. Those were the findings of our planning board. We have a proposed worksheet.
Oh, really?
Nope, I just want to make sure. Jennifer, pages 5 and 6, right?
I don't have a 5.
You don't have a six.
It's actually 7 is the worksheet.
But it's only half.
5, 6, and 7.
Oh, yes, 5, 6, and 7, yeah.
Okay. Oh, 6.
What on earth?
I really have.
Could you do me a favor and just run this one real quick?
It just got cold in front.
Yeah, you just gotta take it off, it's all good.
I just have 5. I don't have a 6.
It's in there.
You do.
You do.
6 is here.
It's right there.
But there's only.
Should be 4 pages total.
Well,
Here.
Okay.
No, you got it,
we
okay.
also have
Here, Jane, hand me yours, I'll fix it.
Don't worry about it. We all have that, it's just,
So it should be, should be 657 in that order.
Okay, all right.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
We have it, it's all good.
Okay, so, jumping this, whereas a public hearing on the variance application was held on September 26, 2022, at 6:30 PM, Maple City Hall, 221 Washburn, Painesville, before the full council sitting as the Board of Adjustment. Now therefore, the Board of Adjustment makes the following report/findings. The Board of Adjustment adopts, modifies as follows, or rejects the report and recommendation of the planning board herein. And then we get to go through the similar findings that the planning board made. Okay, hold on.
to modify.
Well, I was reading off of our last sheet for,
So it starts with number 7, question.
So it's the very part, this part of 6, and then the report and recommendation of the planning board is on 5, and then 1 through 7 is also on 5, and then
I got us back here now, I'm good.
8 to the end is on 8.
All right, so the only thing I think we ought to change in here is that the planning board found the need for variance is due to circumstances unique to the property owner and not caused by the landowner. Arguably, it was caused by Centricare when it constructed an adjoining building.
We're saying constructed. They just bought it.
At the time, that made sense.
Right.
But I think there's a lot of sense to be made for the proposal.
I don't think there's anything planning board.
The only proposed, I'm good with the findings of the planning board. My only suggested change would be granting the following conditions to ensure compliance and to protect adjacent properties, which would be to somehow require that the lot be sold back to Centricare instead of to somebody else, if it's no longer going to be used for senior living.
But if somebody else is going to use it for senior living, as long as it stays senior living, it doesn't matter who owns it.
Are we able to condition it like that?
That's really not a zoning condition.
Right.
It's more of a transactional, you know.
Well, as long as it's used for senior living. That could be a zoning.
Well, it's zoned where it is apartments, so any type of living can be there. So it wouldn't have to be, it could be disability living, it could be regular living.
Recovery center?
As long as it's, you know, apartments, which it is, that is allowed in that district. We can't govern who lives there under what type of condition they live there, like seniors over 55, or, you know, we don't have that in zoning, because we don't have a zoning district that says this is a, you know, the only one that has that, and that's under a, you know, CUP, and it's in a PUD, and it's also got, you know, living restrictions is Alden Park. And we don't regulate who lives in the apartments anywhere in town, whether it be age or income or anything like that.
This could be a first.
I don't know how we would track that.
Maybe they could put it in their sale purchase agreement that it continues is,
Well, that would be something that Centricare would have to.
would have to do.
We already have a purchase agreement.
Of course you do.
Go amend it.
Contingent
course you
on
do.
this.
How hard can it be to convince the lawyers to amend it?
At a price.
I know.
Yeah, at a
But we're
price.
glad to. Their kids have to go to college too.
I think we just have to go on good faith because of the location and the aging population that is probably going to stay, and the people that own it now.
So you're proposing just strictly straight adopt the planning board recommendations and move forward.
Yep.
So what happens if he decides to sell, though? For whatever reason?
Well, at that point, whoever would be buying would have to negotiate with Centricare.
No,
No, because.
no, because they'll be out of it, they'll have sold it.
Well, but you're still, Centricare's providing water
Yeah,
services. That would have to be part of an agreement
for now, yeah.
with the new people. I mean, that's
But
where it's a little sticky, but
once the last one's done though, and they can come in and ask for a water and sewer hookup and get separate utilities run, and then Centricare's out the picture.
Yeah.
You can sell it for whatever you want.
And that was something that, you know, Brandon and I talked about having that, you know, you have control if you own the land. That was one of our first things that we talked about, them, you know, controlling the land, still retaining ownership of the land and then just leasing the building. But, you know, under Centricare's goals, that wasn't a good fit.
Yeah, and the lease option, which was our number one choice, has the same impact as us operating it on the hospital side. So there's no benefit to do that.
Because when we looked at that option, it does give Centricare control over what is there. We talked about that. You know, once they sell that off, they lose control of what is there, as long as it fits under zoning district of C2.
I think that's something that maybe talk to Premier, if that's our wishes. I mean, we can't make them, but we can ask them to, you know, if you decide to sell, please put in your agreement that it's still senior housing.
I don't think they'll do that.
No.
If I might just say, so I do believe that, you know, Centricare has a surrounding property on 3 sides of that, the other is the street. They definitely have a vested interest in what happens in that property. It's adjacent to the new main entrance to the new hospital. And I believe that if push came to shove, you know, they would do what they need to do to protect their interest in the hospital.
Right. They,
But that's just my opinion.
yeah,
I'll be here to fight that battle.
they wouldn't want to see it turned into some other housing that conflicted with their campus.
Brandon just gave me a great idea, which is that we could grant the condition, grant the variance with the following condition to ensure compliance with adjacent properties, which is that Brandon stay on as the local patrol.
If I can work remotely from with my wife, who's sitting in a hurricane right now.
oh,
Well, Gene, your recommendation is straight adoption, no variance, no
changes.
no conditions.
Okay.
Paul? Conditions, no conditions, straight adoption, something else.
What Gene said.
Okay, Megan?
I mean, I guess I don't see what conditions we can easily make, so.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that's the plan.
All right. So then I'm going to read through these reports as I hear them, and if anybody disagrees, holler. So therefore, the Board of Adjustment, A, adopts the report and recommendation of the planning board herein. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 all stay the same. Paragraph 7, the Board of Adjustment concludes, based on facts presented, that strict enforcement of the zoning ordinance would impose an undue hardship because strict enforcement would result in the limits of available housing available to seniors and other members of our community. At a time when housing is already at a premium. On to paragraph 8, page number 7. That's the one that takes up about 2/3 of the page. 8, the Board of Adjustment concludes that the landowner's problem with its property and the reason for the necessity of a variance is A, due to circumstances unique to the property and not caused by the landowner, because, Gene, how do you want to answer the because?
Because they didn't build it that way.
They did.
But the sale is making it that way. Yeah.
Because the nature of the operation and management of senior living necessitates a change in ownership in order to maintain accessibility to safe
Housing
and secure housing for seniors within our area. Because as I listened and I have talked to Brandon in the past, this is not Centricare just saying, we've decided that things are exactly the same as they were when we built this, we just don't want to do it anymore. There's been a real change in the administration of senior living and insurance paybacks, things like that, such that Centricare as a whole is modifying
the
it.
whole market, yeah.
Well, the way I see this, when this was built, the hospital was under hospital district and under different management at the time.
Yep.
And as time moves on and we progress into the future, circumstances change.
True.
Yeah, but just looking at things that are not caused by the landowner, I think insurance reimbursements, things like that have certainly changed and modified. They've forced the sale. So. All right, the Board of Adjustment concludes based on the facts presented that if the variance is granted, it will not alter the essential character of the locality because the building will be used in the same manner it is used today. The Board of Adjustment concludes, based on the facts presented, that if the variance is permitted, it A, will be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance and the comprehensive plan, because again, the use of the building will be the same as it is today, supporting multifamily housing, especially for our aging population. Variance. The Board of Adjustment, having received and reviewed the application for variance and having taken public comment thereon, and having reviewed the recommendation of the planning board and being fully advised, hereby A, grants variance request to allow the variance from the strict requirements of the setback requirements of City Code Chapter 36, Section 36-47, parent E, parent 1. And a motion to approve the variance determination with the findings made therein.
I'll make the motion to approve the Centricare Health Painesville variance determination.
All right, motion by Thielen, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Hertzberg. Any further discussion on that? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? That carries.
Thank you.
Enjoy retirement.
Planning,
It's awesome. You'll love it.
Just make sure you leave the phone number where you can be reached.
No, yeah, don't.
I'm getting a new cell phone, I can.
Yeah.
Well, for your sake, I hope we don't see you back here in the hospital after you retire.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Brandon. Thanks for everything. All right, turning back then to our agenda. Actually, before we move, before we move on, I just want to make the comment that I do think, looking, and Jen talked about this a little bit during the hearing, that was something that we should have technically probably denied. So I think she's absolutely 100% right in denying it initially and having Brandon come to us. So, something we had to do, but that's the way it is. So with that, we have the October and November meeting schedules on page 58. And I understand there was a special meeting scheduled for the environmental board. I don't know if that's on there or not. I haven't looked at it recently, but with that, we are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
I'm like, it's probably, what are you doing? It's really cute. I like this fall coloring.